I want to talk today about being an empath, and I'm here at the lake, where with the emotion of the water and the sensitivity, and the sky is so blue, and the trees are so green, and everything is so sort of you can feel. It's like so much when you're out in nature. Your feelings are so heightened. The breeze here, the sun, everything is empathic, and we all have this incredible capacity for sensitivity and feeling. I wanted to talk today, though, about something. When I talk to a lot of men, I have the Reese Thomas Institute, we usually do somewhere in the range of 130 people going through the program at any one time, and many of those are men, and oftentimes the men will say, well, yeah, I just don't feel that much. I'm not, my wife, she's the empath. She's the one that's got all the, she's like, and she's got all of this empathic emotion, and I don't have any of that stuff, and I'm not an empath at all. I don't feel anything. And so what I wanted to address here is that empathy, being an empath, has been basically taken over by one kind of empathy, which is what we call second chakra empathy, where they're super sensitive to their environment and their feelings, and they're sensitive at this sort of like the second chakra is a connector, right? So the second chakra wrestles with the world constantly, even though an empath would say, I'm never wrestling with anybody, but they're wrestling energetically. It's like a suction cup that we get on another person, and literally we're trying to get our needs met by that person. And that's what second chakra, the more highly sensitive your second chakra is, the more you feel literally like you're suction cupped onto somebody, and you can feel what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're doing. And what ends up happening is in the second chakra, it's very difficult for people that call themselves empaths at that level to distinguish between their own feelings and the other person's feelings. So that's one kind of empath, okay? And that's clairsentient, right? That's that super feeler. But I want you to let in that every one of the chakras has to be empathic. It has to be sensitive. It has to be sensitive to its frequency of energy. And so the idea that somehow empaths, these second chakra empaths, are what an empath is, and everybody else should feel bad about the fact that they don't feel that deeply. Everyone has a unique way of being empathic. Okay? And it will tend to be through one of the chakras. So we tend to all have one, like our life purpose profile. I always say there's leaders, there's achievers, there's team players, there's deep feelers, and there's creative people. Now, the deep feelers, of course, are going to be the most empathic. Some of the leaders as well also have that ability as well, and they're the empaths. They're the second chakra empaths. But think about an achiever. An achiever is somebody who doesn't have a big second chakra, but they're incredibly in tune with what's happening in the world. They immediately see where we got waves coming in here. I guess we're having emotion in the water. They're immediately in tune with anything out of place or out of order, or if they're working with a team, they know who's not performing well. They have this incredible intuitive empathy. And yet, if an empath were to say, you don't feel anything at all. You don't feel your heart at all. They're like, yeah, I guess I don't feel that way. But they have an intuition for wisdom, right? And so they have this claircognizance. They get the downloads. Like, I get it. I don't have to feel it. I don't have to work through it. It's like, I get it. That's a powerful kind of empath, right? So we need to understand that if you've got 7 chakras, you are 7 times an empath. we do block our chakras from feeling certain things, and especially if we grew up with somebody who was emotionally volatile and overwhelmed, we maybe pulled ours back and we didn't develop that one, but we did develop, we always have developed elements of our empathy. And so what is it? And so I, for me, I've got this super high, creative quality. I am empathic for brilliance. It's like when someone says something that's just brilliant, I'm like, oh my God, and I can just sense, and the way I perceive people is their soul quality, is this brightness in them, and I'm not looking for whether they're deep feelers or deep this, that's part of the whole package for me. So it isn't, I'm not going to be that, I'm not the empath, but when it comes to perceiving someone's soul quality, I'm infinitely more empathic than an empath, right? Or whatever, quote an empath. So I want to, I'm not going to change this branding of empath. Somebody branded it really well, and it's a very effective thing for the deep feelers. But I want you to really get that if you're not in that category, it does not mean that you're not an empath. It doesn't mean that you aren't someone who is downloading essential and connecting, like that second chakra suctions on to another second chakra, and they have that wrestling match. Well, the third chakra empaths are like, so the guys are often third chakra empaths, and they'll be, so just for example, someone will start their car up, and a guy will go, shut that off. And they'll go, why? Because, and they won't even know why. They'll just have a sense that the car was just about to break something. Something was going on. They have this third chakra, this empathy for how it works in the world. What's happening in the world, how it functions. The warrior in the middle of a battle has to be incredibly empathic as to where the danger's coming from. That's all third chakra empathy. All right. And that's third chakra sensitivity. And you have to have that empathy in the world. And so it's important to get. And some people hear, they listen. They have this incredible listening capacity. And they may be quiet. They may not have any feelings at all. They may be just sort of like very auditory or they type, or they're writers, or they're poets, or things like that. And they have that very much different kind of an empathy. And so, what kind of empath are you? Are you a clairvoyant, where you have this higher sort of vision of how things are? Are you clairsentient? Like, and I would say that the term empath is basically about being clairsentient, and of course, folks that are super sensitive that way, if they're the emotional intelligence specialists, as we talk about in the life purpose profiles in my book Discover Your Purpose, or the charismatic leaders who have to be sort of more emotionally connected, they very possibly will have multiple levels of that, and we all have, each of our chakras have these different levels. You can be clairsentient, clairaudient, which is the listening, and hearing, and of course for every chakra. So what happens if you have a heart chakra that is empathic, right? You now have a feeling for humanity, like you feel when right now in the world where humanity is being just absolutely run over by governments, by the CDC, by these levels of sort of like, you have to stay in your house and you have to separate from other people. The heart needs to stay connected to people. It needs relationship. It has to be in relationship. And you may be really feeling, if you're heart empathic, you may be really feeling, you may not even be a big feeler, but you really have this sort of compassion for what's going on in the world with other people, and how hard it is for people to just decide that we're now all of a sudden we're community-based people and we now no longer feel. So, and think about each of these energy centers, and the first chakra person is a person that knows exactly where things belong, and this goes here and this goes here, and they've got that sense of that feeling of rightness, of safety, of groundedness, and they immediately know when things aren't safe right here, and they'll move, they'll do things. So this is an important discussion because as people come into my program, there's so many of them that have been programmed in their brains that they are not empathic. They are not sensitive. And it's just a lie. It's a lie told by people that somehow are like, well, you're not sensitive like I am, so you're not sensitive. And it's not true. It's never been true. You are incredibly sensitive. Every human being is incredibly sensitive in some specific way that allows them to connect to the universal field of wisdom. And they feel that, they sense it, they taste it, they have it all inside of them. And then that wisdom is what gives them their purpose in life, what they're here to do and share and inspire in the world.